Hi, second graders. Okay, we are back. 8 class pets plus 1 squirrel divided by 1 dog equals, you remember? Chaos. Okay, and we are on, let's see, this is chapter, they don't say the chapter, the numbers. So I have to remember, we did 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So this must be chapter 5. School of Neon Tetras in 3rd grade. Neon tetras. Do you know what a tetra looks like? Have you seen one of those at a pet shop, maybe? Okay, this one is from the perspective of the neon tetras. The neon tetras are a little repetitive and robotic. You will find out. We are in a school. We are in a school in a school. We are tickled by that idea. The people who come to look at us call us neon tetras. We don't know about that. We just know that we are. Each of us has a bright blue stripe and bright red stripes. We shine in the dark. We are very beautiful. Even one of us would be very beautiful, but we aren't one. We are a school. We live in the water, of course. We don't understand how other creatures live out of the water and breathe the air, but some of them do. Our water is surrounded by glass that gives it a square shape. Living in the water with us are some plants and a catfish who eats the slime off the sides of the glass. She does not have blue stripes. She does not have red stripes. She is not beautiful, and she doesn't have much to say, but she keeps our water clean. Catfish. Sharing the water with us, but not living, is a shipwreck and a miniature man with a treasure chest that opens and closes. In the treasure chest are sparkly gems. On the floor of our square pond are sparkly stones. Neither the gems nor the stones are as sparkly as we are. They have a good feeling about how sparkly and special they are and beautiful, don't they? Good self-esteem. We dart back and forth in our glass enclosed pond and around the shipwreck. We are a school. Outside of the glass that forms the boundary of our pond is a man who feeds us fish flakes and frozen brine shrimp. Yum, frozen brine shrimp. Look here. Do you see how they put parentheses around there? Those little things that look like that? It's kind of an aside, like, he feeds us frozen brine shrimp. Yum. Frozen brine shrimp. It's kind of like they're almost like whispering, oh my gosh, right? It's an aside. There are also little men out there who press their faces against our glass. Our man who feeds us calls these little men boys and girls. He says to them, boys and girls, do not tap on the glass. Do not lean on the cart and make it move. Sometimes they do anyway when he's not looking, and when they do, we dart back and forth. Our favorite part of the day is global studies. The globe the little men study is a big round thing that shows the world. Most of the world is, do you know? Is it land or water? Most of Earth. Water. That idea tickles us. So beyond our pond, there is a room with the man and the little men and the globe. Beyond that, there is more glass, which is called windows. Beyond that glass is the world. And now we have seen on the globe that most of this is water. One of the air breathers who sometimes looks in through the squirrels is a creature that calls himself Squirrel. One day, the squirrel came swimming through the air into our room. He came with another creature, a small white creature with a long pink tail. Who's that creature? But they were not in a school because they were not the same. They did not look the same and they did not move the same. The squirrel said, help, the dog is going to eat us. And we said, there is protection in a school. The second creature, the one who was not a squirrel, put his ear up to the glass that protects us from the air. And we said it again so that he could hear, there is protection in a school. The non-squirrel repeated this for the squirrel. The squirrel said, what? We said, when you swim in a school, only some get eaten while the rest stay safe. You need to find a school. When his friend told him this, the squirrel said, neither of us wants to get eaten. A creature bigger than either of them entered the room. Bigger often eat smaller. True. This big creature said, stop running, you sorry waste of fur. The squirrel darted in one direction and the squirrel's friend darted in another. In a school, we told them. The big noisy creature followed the squirrel, knocking into one of the desks where during the day one of the little men sits. The desk tipped over and the books and papers and pencils fell out. So who's the third creature? Yep, the dog. The big noisy creature continued to follow the squirrel. The big noisy creature had something trailing from him, the way sometimes a crab will have seaweed trailing from itself. It was long and white and got wrapped around things, and it knocked over a big plant by the man's desk, and dirt and leaves fell out. That's the leash, right? The big noisy creature tried to follow the squirrel up onto the man's desk, and that sent more books and papers and pencils onto the floor. A picture of the man's family fell as well, and his souvenir mug from Marineland, which looks like a wonderful place. The squirrel went up the stand that holds the globe, but then he stepped onto the globe, and the globe spun, and the squirrel spun, and the squirrel flew through the air and landed on the big noisy creature's head. The big noisy creature was so startled he made his own water right there on the floor. The squirrel and his friend darted out the door. "In a school!" we called after them. The big noisy creature followed them. But the long white thing that was not seaweed must have gotten wrapped around the cart that makes our pond move. Boom, boom, boom. The cart that the little men are not supposed to lean on. We began to move, dragged along by the big noisy creature. Our pond swayed and bumped behind him as he ran. We continued to swim safe in a school. In a school. Next chapter is Lenora, 4th grade parrot. It's interesting because all of these chapters are from a different character's perspective, right? Or a different group of characters' perspectives. And everybody has a different way of looking at the same situation, right? The situation is happening, like Twitch comes into the room, and everybody has a different way of seeing it and experiencing it, just like for us. Like your family might do something and one person in the family might say, "Oh my gosh, that was the best, most fun thing ever." And somebody else might say, I don't know, I wasn't so into it. I didn't really find it super exciting. You had the same experience, like maybe you played a game together or something, and one person really was jazzed about it, and maybe one person was like, "No, that didn't do it for me." Right? So everybody can experience the same thing and have a different way of feeling about it. Okay, Lenora, 4th grade parrot. Hola. That's one of my favorite words because I come from Puerto Rico, and that's how people there say hello. The Spanish for please is por favor, and thank you is gracias. Those 3 words cover a variety of situations. Another of my favorite words is nevermore, because that's a refrain in a poem called The Raven. A refrain is a word you say over and over, and I like to say words over and over. But I don't like to say, "Polly wants a cracker." I don't know why some people think I should. My name isn't even Polly. My name is Lenora, and it comes from that same Raven poem. But I'm not a raven. I'm a blue and gold macaw, which is a kind of parrot. Luckily, I love poetry. My owner, her name is Rosa de Silva, says that since we both come from Puerto Rico, poetry is in our blood, along with our accents, I guess. Here is a poem I have been working on. There we go. It's in different font. Can you see how the writing is different for the poem there? Sitting in the trees, I sometimes sneeze as loud as you please. With a beak as big as mine, you need to draw the line, or a sneeze will rattle your knees. Okay, I'm still working on it. Some of those 4th graders, believe me, their poems aren't any better. Good poetry or bad, I like being in a school with Rosa and the kids. When Rosa first got me, she'd leave me home while she went to school to teach. All day long, nobody else would be there. Mr. De Silva works in a bank, and the De Silva kids go to their own schools. Being alone made me crazy. I started to pluck my feathers. That made Rosa crazy. She was like, "Eek, I'm going to end up with a bald bird." Now she brings me to the classroom where she teaches. And the kids here call her Mrs. De Silva instead of Rosa. When we're in school, I have to remember to call her Mrs. De Silva too. Such a chore, such a bore. Not Rosa, por favor. It's Mrs. De Silva in school. That's the rule if I want to be cool. So is that a free verse poem where you just kind of say the words you're feeling? Or is that a rhyming poem where the ending words sound alike on the different lines? Bore, por favor, school, rule, cool. Bore and por favor rhyme, and school, rule, cool rhyme, right? So it's a rhyming poem. This is hard to remember. I also have to remember that there are other words I'm not supposed to say in school either. I think school has too many rules. Sometimes if Rosa and her family have to go someplace and stay out late, she'll leave me here in the classroom overnight. That's okay, I don't mind once in a while. That's how I got to meet the squirrel. This is what happened. One day, this squirrel, he comes running in. I've seen him before, but I don't know his name. He's got this big, ugly dog chasing him, and the dog has got a fish tank on a rolling cart chasing him. The the squirrel, he can't fly, but he knows up is safer than down. And he goes running up the stand that holds my cage, and he sits on top and he yells down to the dog, "You're ugly and your mother has fleas." I don't know about the mama with the fleas, but I think to myself, surely this dog can't argue about the ugly. Senior dog, he's jumping up in the air trying to tip the cage over, and he goes, "Yeah, you rodent, you come down here and say that." And the water in the fish tank is going slosh, slosh. "Whoa, Chicos," I tell them, "careful of the innocent bystander." There's a little rat too, but Senior Dog isn't interested in him, just the squirrel. The rat calls up to the squirrel, "I'll get help so there's more of us, like the fish said." The dog keeps barking, so I start squawking. The squirrel is making my cage sway like the boat that brought me here. And I say to the squirrel, "You ever hear the term seasick?" Next thing I know, the rat comes running back in with a hamster and a rabbit. It's like a convention of small mammals plus fish. But the dog, he ignores them all and he keeps yapping at the squirrel. And those small mammal guys, they don't know what to do. They're just running around in circles. And the rat squeaks, "Somebody do something." And the hamster is trying to count how many of them there are. But every time somebody moves, he loses track and he has to start all over. And the rabbit is full of useless advice. She's all like, "Don't let him get you." Ah! It's starting to sound like chaos, isn't it? I think the squirrel had already thought of that. The fish look like they're beginning to get seasick too. And then wham, bam, that clumsy dog knocks my cage down. My feathers are ruffled, but I don't get hurt because I land on a pile of paper mache fruits and vegetables that the kids have been making for some sort of art contest. "Sorry," the squirrel says to me as he dashes for the door, but the dog, he's so rude, he never says a word of apology. He's just all, "Get back here, you squirrel." The fish, still dragged along behind that bumping, swaying, sloshing cart, on that bumping, swaying, sloshing cart, are all like, "Glug, glug." And the rat and the others, they start to follow, and I squawk, "Hola, don't leave me here on the floor as you go out the door without even a nevermore." The rat is the only one left, slowest because he's always staying close to the walls, not wanting to cross the open space of the room. So he comes back and he unlatches my cage. Okay, next time we'll do Nancy, the art room turtle, and she has a speech bubble. "Call me Nancy." Chaos.